New year, new comforter. Also, new curtains. Maybe you saw this before, maybe not. They were in another video. Anyway, happy birthday, me! Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel, and it's time once again for another episode of Rachel Review, so let's just hop into it. It's Beauty and the Beast, a live-action adaptation of the 1991 classic. Oh, it's one of those again. So, a lot of people, myself included, were insanely skeptical about this movie being made because it's just another Disney animated classic that we all love and know being remade into live action, and it seemed really pointless to just kind of fix something that was already perfect. And I won't lie, if you've already seen the 1991 movie, then it's gonna be insanely hard to watch this one and not compare the two. But I did my best and went into this with fresh eyes, or as much as I could, and now I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it. Also, gold, because Belle. And when you watch this movie, you will notice that the movies are really similar, like almost beat for beat, it's the same movie. But actually, there are some differences. Let me first start off by saying that actually watching this movie, it was quite enchanting. One thing that I actually do love is that in the beginning, they do fix a plot hole that has always bothered me. Even when I was a kid, this bothered me, so I was pleasantly surprised by this. You know how in the original film the spell is cast and then like everyone in the village seems to not be aware of the existence of this castle or the prince or anything like that? Yeah, you'd think that they would have known about this, since don't princes rule over kingdoms, and wasn't that village technically part of the kingdom? Well, actually in this movie, the narrator tells us that the enchantress also put a spell on the kingdom, and everybody just kind of forgot about it, and they forgot about everyone that lived in the castle too. I mean, it's kind of a throwaway line, but that actually makes sense. It actually creates logic to this spell, and now we know why everyone doesn't know about the beast and why they want to hunt him down and don't know that they're supposed to be a prince, and they actually do kind of play into this later and everyone kind of gets their memory back. It works. Someone felt my pain and they fixed it. Thank you. Emma Watson was cast beautifully as Belle in this movie. If they had made this movie 10 years ago, I feel like they probably would have gotten someone like Keira Knightley or maybe even Jennifer Gardner to play Belle, who I think probably would have looked a little too model-y for this. Nothing against models, but I just really like it that they actually have a Disney princess who has this more natural beauty to her. And she doesn't just look the part. Emma Watson does this amazing job of capturing the free-spirited soul that is Belle. Also, nothing against the original version, since we do sympathize with her distress and her stubborn nature, but I actually do like also that in this movie she does take a little more action, shall we say. She just has a couple of moments where she's like really determined that she's gonna escape the castle and no one's gonna stop her, and I really like that as a change of pace for her. She obviously doesn't get that far, but it's nice to see that she has a little fight in her. Also, side note, I love her outfits in this. I like that her blue-white dress and then also her yellow dress are very similar and capture the feel of the originals, but they're not like the exact same. They don't look like the Disney park versions. They actually look like they genuinely come from that time period. And that to me just kind of adds the authenticity of her outfits, and it just really makes it feel more real that this is actually like a place and time rather than just some sort of cartoony musical-ish thing. I even like when she gets in the yellow dress and she has this kind of like ear bling thing. It looks like something you'd buy on Etsy today, and she's even got like a little tree necklace. Oh, Belle's getting trendy. I like it. As for the rest of the cast, I can't really talk about every single individual person or else we're gonna be here forever, but I should say at least that everyone did play their parts really, really well. There wasn't anyone in the cast that made me go like, wow, really? That's a terrible casting choice. And I also like that unless you're playing an inanimate living object, the cast wasn't too cartoony or over the top either. Everyone to me just kind of had this right amount of presence for a dignified live action version of this story. In animation, you can be as over the top and goofy and cartoony as you want, and they kind of go for that in some parts of the original animated version, but actually here, I like that everyone is toned down a bit, but that works better for live action, and everyone still has this great sense of character that works really well, and it doesn't feel out of place. Also, because everyone's talking about him, I loved Josh Gad as LeFou. There has been a lot of talk about this character before the movie was even released because he's the first openly gay character in a Disney movie. Openly gay. There's even been some controversy amongst the gay community because they didn't really want like the first really openly gay character to be the Fool. Oh, wait, LeFou, the Fool. I get it now! But you know, when I saw it, I actually thought that Josh Gad presented his character with a lot of dignity, and actually it's really not that obvious that he is gay until the final shot that he's in. His admiration for Gaston, as well as his suppression for his real feelings, it just kind of felt really historically accurate. It was just subtle, and he wasn't really over the top or like in your face about it, and I actually kind of like it. It was really cute and humorous that way. Plus, I really think it adds to LeFou that he actually has an arc in this version. He really admires Gaston and has great affection for him, but then come the third act, he suddenly has doubts once he sees all the despicable things that he does, and now it's like, oh no, my boyfriend, he's not the man I thought he was. I like LeFou in this. We all want to like LeFou. So, regarding the director, yeah, I was really nervous about Bill Condon being involved with this movie. God damn it, that freaking name though. I mean, he directed the last 2 Twilight films, which are both horrible, 2 of the most entertainingly bad in the whole entire franchise, but then I found out they also won an Oscar before all that. So I guess he's pretty talented most of the time? But anyway, after seeing some of his stuff, I have kind of caught on to his style, and in this movie they do have a lot of quick edits, which they had in the other films that I've seen that he's done, and that I'm not a huge fan of. It's just like quick shot and then move on to something else. Dude, come on, make those shots a little longer for establishment. We can't get a whole lot from literally like a quarter of a second of something. But actually, besides that, I was pleasantly surprised by the choices he made. He didn't make the film exactly like the original, which you of course would expect, and he did have some creative liberties, but at the same time, he also didn't take away too much. The one part of the movie though that made me go, huh? Was the part when the Beast shows Belle this book that he apparently got from the Enchantress that allows them to travel through space. Like they can travel from location to location or to wherever they desire, basically. And I know he got it from the Enchantress because he says it. He says specifically the Enchantress gave it to him. No reason why. It was kind of a throwaway line. It was just kind of like a, oh, how do they have this? Oh, it's from the Enchantress. Okay. So they use the book to travel to Paris, and really the only reason that this book exists is so that they can find out more about each other's parents, which works okay for Belle, but feels insanely rushed on the Beast's part. Hi. Because right before this scene, we do find out that the Beast's father was kind of an ass, and that's why he's such a dick now. But they made such a huge mistake by telling, not showing. I don't know if it's because I'm used to the original, but it just seemed really out of nowhere. And I get it, they're trying to give him some backstory, but you know, maybe they should have included that kind of stuff in the beginning with the narration. He was selfish and unkind, and it's because his father was abusive. But back to the book also, really during that whole time, which again seemed really out of nowhere, I was thinking to myself like, why is Belle sad? Now she can go wherever she wants to. This girl has a palace, she has a library full of books, and now she can travel wherever she wants to in the world. Why is she still moping? Whatever, maybe I'm thinking too hard about it. Anyway, that bit of book randomness aside, that probably was not truly necessary and we could have found out about her past some other way, I do like the other story choices that Bill Condon made, especially the fact that there is more at stake in this movie. In the original, they did say that if the spell's not broken, that they will stay in their forms forever, but they did kind of imply that they would still keep on living, they would just stay the same. However, in this version, they actually do state that if the spell's not broken in time, then they're all gonna basically freeze up and not exist anymore. Yeah, I mean, good for them. That actually added more to the urgency of the situation. Ooh, and the music. Okay, let's talk about the music. The music was good. All the original songs from the theatrical version, they're in this movie. There isn't a single song from the original movie that I don't like, and watching all of them come to life in this movie was actually pretty awesome. Also, just putting it out there, I was really excited to see how they were gonna make Be Our Guest come to life, and oh my god, it was so pretty and it felt so massive on the big screen, and I just absolutely loved it. That was hands down my favorite musical number in this whole movie. But they also added a couple of new songs in this, and I don't remember any of them. Even after watching the credits that kind of like revived one of the songs, I was not humming any of them when I left, and upon listening to the soundtrack later on, actually a lot of the songs, they sounded insanely similar to each other, which is weird because it's Alan Menken again with Tim Rice, and come on guys, I expected better from you. I don't know, maybe I'm just used to the originals, but these ones to me, they really just did not stand out at all. And in my opinion, they probably should have just grabbed some songs from the original Broadway version, because I think that kind of would have been better. Also, just calling it out, What's with all the auto-tuning? Now, one more big thing that I actually really want to talk about is the opening sequence. In the original, the backstory about how the prince became a beast is kind of just told through stained glass. It's simple, it's nice, and honestly, I'm not really sure why they didn't do that this time around. But whatever, not a big deal. When the beast actually meets the enchantress, it's during a ball, which I will admit is kind of cool, and we actually do see her as a person, and she does play a bigger part later in the movie, but anyway. Again, the narration's almost exactly the same, and they talk about how the prince was selfish and unkind, but again, they kind of tell us and don't show us. We don't see him be a dick to the servants, we don't see him be a complete snob to all the people at the ball, even though the narrator says he's a pretty mean dude. And I know they didn't really show us in the original version, it's just in the stained glass, and I don't really know why that worked better. Maybe just in the presentation it just kind of gave us the idea that he thinks he's above everybody. But here, even though they say he's really nasty, he just kind of seems like an okay guy. Again, I don't know, maybe this is where they should have shown his father just kind of being a jerk. Watching this version, I just feel like I should have gotten more of why he deserves this punishment. I was never in this like mindset where I was like, yes, you deserve this, Buster, and I hope you have what's coming to you, and I hope you learn about love. And that also kind of goes along with how I personally think maybe the beast should have been a bit more intimidating in this version. We could have just gotten like, I don't know, some more beastie qualities. Again, I'm sorry I keep comparing the two, but in the original, you just really got the sense that you were watching this monster who had this terrible temper, who could rip your head off if he wanted to. But here, even though he was designed really well and he could have been creepier and more scary, he needed a bit more, you know, raw kind of moments. I mean, again, he was okay, I wanted him to just be a little bit more of a monster than he was. But I mean, that was kind of the biggest gripe I had with the movie, and other than that, it was wonderful. In my personal opinion, this is definitely one of the best live action from animation remakes that we've seen from Disney so far. And by movie standards, The Jungle Book, yes, is probably the best one, but I actually personally like this one a lot better. But I mean, I've always liked Beauty and the Beast over The Jungle Book anyway, so maybe that's just me being biased, but really the experience in the theater was just so much better. There really aren't that many movies out there like this because musicals and fairy tales are really hard to sell, and also they're really challenging to produce, so it's really refreshing to see something like this that's a musical and a fairy tale, and it's executed really well, and it took us on this really amazing Disney-tastic ride. There really is no reason for this movie to exist, especially since the original was so wonderful and practically perfect in every way. But that being said, there's actually nothing really insultingly wrong with either version. Both movies are just two different, yet surprisingly similar interpretations that fit the animated and live action mediums that they were made for. Honestly, I don't really like either for doing a better job. I just like the variations and choices from both of them. Like I mentioned, there's a couple of things that could have been executed better, but in the end, it really was an enjoyable experience. Especially if you're a big Disney person and you grew up with the original, then I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on how much fun this movie is. Honestly, I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see if kids from this generation are going to watch this one first and then what they think of the animated one afterwards. I'm personally not a huge fan of Disney live action remakes, but you know what? If they're gonna be this good, then I think I'll be okay with it. This movie was faithful to the original, yet it had just enough creative liberties that it felt fresh and new and, for lack of a better word, magical. So those are my thoughts on the Disney remake of Beauty and the Beast, and now I want to know, did you guys see it? Did you like it? Did you like the changes that they made? Also, are there any Disney animated films out there that you want to see get the same remake treatment? Or do you not want to see anything remade? Is there a reason that you don't like the remakes? Well, go ahead and leave your comments below. Be sure to like and share, and if you're new and like what you saw here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to hit that little bell button down there so you can get notified when new content comes out, because I make new videos here every week. Bye, Adorkable buddies. I'll see you soon. Bye.